All right, start recording in three, two, and one. All right, and welcome back to the Reserve Squad Midweek Show, a soccer podcast covering all things in the EPL from a bench perspective. But it is summertime, so we are talking Euros, and the U.S. Did play their second game. It did not go, let's say, according to plan. There were some positives and maybe some negatives versus Bolivia, but it wasn't. It didn't have me thinking this was going to happen, and so we'll get into what happened with the Panama game. Yes, the Tim Weah red card did completely change it. Everyone is right to focus on that, but I'm going to focus on the decisions that happened after that I do think do deserve some scrutiny, but also the decision to even start Tyler Adams when you knew he was on a minutes restriction. To me, like you did it again. I didn't think he actually looked his best versus Bolivia. Now you understand trying to ease someone in as they return from fitness, but Johnny Cardoza is a better player at the minute, just in general. And I didn't think Tyler Adams necessarily played his best either. And you already knew he was on a minutes restriction, and with the red card, you knew you had to lose that sub anyways, and so that just kind of compounded on things. I also think losing Matt Turner was just as impactful as I don't necessarily want to say as the Weyer red card, but that forced you to remove a substitution as well at halftime, and Ethan Horvath was not ideal. Was not did not have his best performance either. I think he could have done better with the second goal, but also he was just really he looked nervous. The first save he had to make, his shot was kind of hit right at him. Sure, there was a little spin on it, but did not really instill a lot of confidence there. He just kind of spilt it. If Panama had someone in the box, that could have been disastrous as well. And anytime we passed the ball back to him, all he was doing was launching it, and we were just giving the ball away. So yeah, that wasn't ideal. And also, I kind of think for the Matt Turner, like the first goal that they scored, Matt Turner probably could have done better. I think he was hurt. So we'll get into that. Before we do though, we do have Euros, and the round of 16 is upon us, and so the bracket we have is the one that I kind of I wondered about because I mentioned last episode. It's possible England could find themselves in the quote unquote the more favorable bracket, as you say, because you look at this and Germany, Spain, Portugal, and France all on the same lineup, where England are on the opposite. So is the Netherlands. But there's a reason why both of those teams are in a different bracket. England just got lucky, but Netherlands had neither have really played their best. So we'll see if the draw is favorable, where they actually meet each other in the semis or not. But first we have Germany and Denmark. Probably would favor Germany here. I can't really figure Denmark out, to be honest. Also, I can't figure Rasmus Højlund out, to be honest. It'd be a lot easier. Well, I probably should be a little harsher because he is a Man United player, but I have generally wanted him to do well. It's been unfortunate that just he didn't have the worst first year. All things considered, all competitions, I think he was close to 15, 16, maybe even 17 goals all competitions. Maybe 15 goals in the league. That really isn't the worst return for his first year. First year into a new league, and he was doing well for Denmark in Euros qualifying, and it hasn't clicked for him for some reason. Maybe him playing with Jonas Wind hasn't really worked out. They haven't really had that partnership together, and Denmark had played one good game, and then one. I want to say maybe they played two good halves. They were very bright for at least maybe three-quarters of the game versus England, and they were very good in the first half for Slovenia. And then they were weird in that second half. They were kind of weird in the second half versus England after England made their changes, and I just don't really know how to figure Denmark out. So this could be an interesting drop. Germany did show some cracks versus Switzerland in their last game, and I thought they showed a little cracks versus Hungary, but I'm not really sure if Denmark's going to be the team to find them out or not. But that's a game that maybe even kicks off today. Then we have Spain and Georgia, and I'm really looking forward to this because of the way that Georgia has gone about their football this year. This tournament. I mentioned how everyone knew about Kvaratskhelia coming into this, but his partner in Mikitsake, I can't say names. this striker on Mets, who's also 23, 24 years old as well. Apparently, he scored 15, 16 goals for his in the French league for Mets. And all he is he's now the leading Golden Boot winner leader at the minute with 3 goals. He got a PK in this one, but also set up Vavaskelia in the for the first goal. And Georgia has been one of the more fun teams, one more fun surprises into the tournament. But drawing Spain isn't necessarily ideal. They played each other actually twice in World Cup qualifying, and I think the aggregate was like 10-2. Spain won one game, I think 7-1, and then I think the other game was like 3-1. So it's probably not the most favorable draw. But Spain have lost to some weird teams recently in tournaments. In 2018, they did lose to Russia, and then they lost to Morocco. And then Italy, knocked them out last year, as I think the semifinal. This does feel a different Spain team, but they are young, so we'll have to see how they do with the first knockout. If nothing else, I like it because it'll be a nice little clash. Usually, you're not going to see both teams, line up to kind of do the same way, and it's not the Spain of the past where they have 800 passes with nothing going forwards. They have an ability to change that. So I'm looking forward to this. Just kind of the clashes that we have, and also when Georgia get the ball, they're not afraid to really go forward. With it, they don't just hoof it away. They can carry it as well. They have been a joy this tournament. So looking forward to that. And then we have Portugal and Slovenia. Slovenia have felt one of the weaker teams, to be honest. Now there is Benjamin Šeško, there is Jan Oblak, the keeper, and the center back Janka Bijol have impressed, but they haven't seemed to be able to get any kind of offensive rhythm going. Šeško also has a striking partner that has been doing some decent things, but Slovenia have been able to advance over by finishing third over a team like Ukraine, who ended up having more points. So there were a couple of last place teams that I thought were maybe a little bit more deserving of going, but this tournament has that weird third place spot to hand out. And Slovenia were one of the ones that benefit. Even someone like Hungary, I think maybe would have been able to offer more. But we'll see. We'll see how they do versus Portugal. Portugal have been one of the more interesting sides as well. The game versus Georgia that happened. The manager made a lot of lineup changes, and when you do that, a lot of rotation. And when you do that, you get guys that haven't necessarily played a lot of minutes together. I think there's miscommunication by the center back Anthony Silva and Yao Polina, and also Yao Neves, and that leads basically to the first goal. And then Yao Neves is trying to play from the back, trying to not necessarily give away the ball. Basically, he gets caught on it, and Georgia were able to turn it over, and that leads to their second goal in that game as well. Portugal, though, even with all the changes and kind of just chaos, they were good enough to at least, get back in the game. And I really did like how their manager actually made a lot of offensive-minded subs, and they tried to get something out of the game. So they didn't just sit back. They didn't just say, okay, we're losing, we'll just kind of throw away the game. They actually went for it. And 30 touches in the opponent's in Georgia's box. Portugal was still good. It's just I'm what Roberto Martinez does is going to affect basically how far they go. Now, uh, I understand the idea of doing the squad rotation. I even understand the idea of playing Ronaldo. You want to get him a goal to feed his confidence going. Uh, and they risk playing Ronaldo. Ronaldo is 39 years old. I would have probably saved his legs, to be honest. But they played him. They wanted him to get a goal, and not only did it backfire, he picked up a dumb yellow card by trying to buy a cheap free kick after his shirt was maybe being pulled on a cross or a free kick. But he argues, and apparently his dissent picked up the yellow, and it's a dumb yellow. These yellows last, I think, till the semifinals. So that did not work out, but we'll see what Portugal do versus Slovenia. I have a feeling that'll probably be the game that Ronaldo scores, maybe even has a hat trick. Slovenia have not been really impressive to me, but that could maybe be a bad prediction, but we'll see. And then we get France and Belgium, a rematch of the 2018 semifinals, and Belgium look a giant mess. Again, the game with Ukraine, it is amazing. Lukaku isn't leading Golden Boot with like 5 goals. to be honest. The amount of chances they've been able to create for him. But their manager Tedesco has also not really been able to find the right balance, whether it's been uh, Bakayoko or Luke Bacchio. They haven't been able to figure out anyone to play on the right side. I'm almost wondering, why don't you play Jeremy Doku on the right wing and just honestly just go with Trossard on the left? He tried Trossard on the right wing in this game. It did not work at all. Jeremy Doku was still good, and he's been good the whole tournament. But also when Doku cuts in, he's not. He doesn't really offer any kind of end product as far as uh, chance creation that leads to goals. Now he can do a lot of great dribbling 1v1 stuff. He can create a lot of chances as far as cutbacks and crosses. But he never seems to have his scoring boots on when he cuts to get onto his right foot. So I would just play him on the right anyways and play the guy that actually is better at doing that in Trossard. But what do I know? Uh, and then we have Romania, and in the other bracket, we have Romania and Netherlands, and this could be an exciting game as well. Netherlands should be fine, but they're another team that just hasn't looked themselves either. I think they've been dearly missing Frankie De Jong. That was something coming into the tournament, and they're the PSV kind of duo, enjoy Veerman and Schloten have not really looked up to it, and it really does suck for or it is unfortunate for Joey Veerman because he kind of became the face a little bit of their troubles in their last game versus Austria, where Austria, one of the more energetic pressing sides, fantastic as far as creating turnovers, and he had something like 9 of 19 passes in 30 minutes, and was hooked after 30 minutes. He could not keep on to the ball at all. He was really struggling to find any kind of feed, but also there were no runs ahead of him. That front line that they went with was not good. Memphis Depay at Cody Gakpo, and then I think it was Daniel Malin. And so again, no Wout Weghorst, no Frimpong. Frimpong to me has to actually start for them, whether or not in a ring back role or even honestly just play him as a winger. I think he basically is a winger at this point. You need that dynamism. You need that directness. Cody Gakpo can offer that as well, and I actually have liked that they have at least tried playing him on the left. It's been because he has been good. He has been good for them. This tournament, really the only one that has been good for them. Wout Weghorst has come on the bench and actually been good for them every time he's come off the bench. I think it's probably time to actually have him start. And we'll see what they do versus Romania. Also, their back line is way more vulnerable than it should be with Ake and Virgil van Dijk, uh, and Mickey Van de Ven. Mickey Van de Ven hasn't even been able to play. I guess the one problem you could say is all of them are very predominant to play on the left side, so they're almost starved for options on that. And then you look on the right side, and they have Denzel Dumfries is a little fun going forward, but maybe not the best defensively. Frimpong mentioned already as well, and they tried Gertruda in this game, and man, did that not work either. So. I mean, I'll get to that game later on, but that game with Romania could be a lot of fun because Romania are not afraid to just kind of just unload anywhere in the final third. They're not afraid to take some shots from distance. And so you think about Van Dijk can maybe have some blocks in the box, but Van Dijk is so prone now to play behind everyone else. In fact, he actually led. I think it was Sabitzer. He played him on sides because he was so far behind everyone else. Romania are not going to have an issue with that, and the ball for this tournament, I can't explain it to be honest, because the ball is actually doing what it's supposed to in this tournament. Then, unlike any tournament I can remember, they've been so many shots from distance that haven't really ballooned when they've been hit. I can't. I, I don't know if it's that it's been I can't even offer an explanation for that other than the ball I guess just been behaving. But Romania have been one of the better teams as far as taking shots from distance and actually getting it on goal. So we'll see how that works. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a lot of fun. I think there'll be a lot of mistakes from both teams. I think there'll be a lot of goals. So we'll see how that works. And then Austria and Turkey could be fun as well. It could be absolute chaos. Turkey might even have the best player on the field in Arda Güler, with only being 18 years old. He was at least able to play in their last game. He was only able to go half a game versus Portugal, and they did not they just threw away that game versus Portugal. They were not necessarily good. And they weren't necessarily good in their last game versus Czech Republic. And Austria had been one of the more surprising teams of the tournament. And the reason why France is in the other bracket is Austria won their group. And so, they got first place out of a group of Netherlands and France. Austria were not just a fun little underdog story coming into this. They were lead dog, basically. And Ralph Ragnick's Austria team have been an absolute joy to watch. Just the way that not just the way that they press as a unit, they just suffocate the ball, but they they make so many sprints in possession as well. I thought they were actually really good at keeping it. As Netherlands didn't have any kind of way how to turn it over. And in this game, there was a little squad rotation, even in a game that they had to win. And it was interesting to see Alexander Press. He actually played at left back. When I've looked at him, he's mostly been played in midfield, and man, was he exciting to watch. The kind of runs he was able. He was so good on the ball as well, and he set up basically two of these goals. Sabitzer, has had his usual involvement. Baumgartner was rested, then he came on and was his. He played a role in I think the second or third goal with a really nice through ball to maybe it was Sabitzer. So Austria, the only question is how much can that last? Because they are very reliant on energy and how much will they able to continue that on? I do think they'll have enough to go through Turkey, and then we'll see who they face in the next game. And then we have England and Slovakia, where Luke Shaw could possibly play. And if he does, that does change England. I'm going to get to England later on. If not, I don't know what they're going to do at left back because that is a major issue. In fact, Ian Wright had an interesting suggestion, and that almost got him canceled, quote unquote, with his Arsenal fan base. So I'll get to that later on. But they should have enough to get through Slovakia. But Slovakia have been one of the more fun teams as well. They beat Belgium, but the way that they beat Belgium was they were very good at making Belgium build from the back. And England had better people on the ball. Their center backs, and Pickford's better, maybe better than for Bregan, or not for Bregan, than to do whoever the Belgian keeper is. I should remember, but I don't. But they're Mangala and Onana. To me, that is similar a little bit to Declan Rice and Conor Gallagher. But it's possible we might see Kobe Mano, but Kobe Mano is 19. So could Slovakia be able to cause some turnovers because Slovakia are not afraid to play high up and to be one of the more high pressing sides. And Slovakia also have a midfield that is quietly quite good at keeping the ball and making it move. They have a little player in Lobotka, that plays of Napoli. That when Liverpool played Napoli, he kind of showed up a little bit to me, and he's one of the kind of I don't want to necessarily a throwback, but he reminds me a little bit of like a Thiago, where the Liverpool connection, because he's a little bit short of stature. He plays in that central area. He's not necessarily a ball winner, but what he is he's just a little genius on the ball. He's not afraid to get it from the middle area and just kind of have a clever dribble. When the space is there, he's very good at using his body to shield it. Good. He's press resistant, but he's also very, very progressive in his actions. And he'll be someone that I'll be looking to watch. Now, can Declan Rice maybe punish that? Because Declan Rice is a lot bigger than him. That could maybe factor in as well. We'll have to see. England potentially fix some things in the second half of their game versus Slovenia, but we'll have to see if Southgate continues with that or continues with with what he's done beforehand, because he finally brought on, and it's not going to be Conor Gallagher, it's not going to be Kobe Mano. He probably brought on Anthony Gordon. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. He also is very towards the end of the that game. He took off whoever was. He took off Trippier. Trippier was maybe dealing with an injury. Apparently, he's maybe not even he's rumored maybe not to be able to go. For their game tomorrow. He moved Kyle Walker to left back to play Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back. And that just kind of gets to it. England don't really have a solution to play on the left back to give Phil Foden or whoever's playing on the left, any kind of overlap help, because Phil Foden gets the ball and everyone kind of knows he's not really going to be beat you necessarily by himself. He's maybe he'll go to the touchline, but he's not really going to cross it to anyone. There's never Kane there. Where Foden wants to get the ball, he wants to cut inside towards goal, but he can't do it because he doesn't have a right foot. He's very left foot dominant. So they're trying to just fit Phil Foden basically on the pitch. They're trying to fit Jude Bellingham basically on the pitch together, and it has been just a cluster of a mess. And Southgate finally did make some changes. Finally brought on Gordon. Even he did to bring on Cole Palmer for Saka, and Cole Palmer didn't play. Actually, did quite well. He was very direct in his actions. Sometimes Saka has almost gotten to a point where he's gun shy, which is not ideal. He could also be completely winded and tired as well. But Saka has also been basically England's been one of the, if not the best, up there as far as their best performers in that front line, in my opinion, through the 3 games. He's been the only one that's been an outlet to make runs. He's been the only one, staying on the touchline to create that space for in that middle for either a Jude or when Foden comes all the way over, or even Kane. Uh, so I mean, Saka is the positions that Saka has taken, and also the runs that he's made. You know, because England only get that first goal versus Serbia because of the run that Saka makes. Saka was equally as important in. I forget he was necessarily important in the Denmark goal. Maybe I think he whoever it was Christensen, someone basically was concerned with Saka, and then that allowed basically Trippier to run past him. So I'll get to England later on. I think Saka needs to play if he is if he's fit. But Ian Wright had a different suggestion to play Saka, which I'll get to. And then we have Switzerland and Italy. I'm quietly expecting this to probably be the worst game of the knockouts. We'll have to see. Italy have been kind of sleepwalking the entire tournament. They're all of their kind of it seems like their mo is back on being very super defensive minded. They do have their best players seem to be Bastoni and Calafiore, and you don't necessarily know how to fit everyone together there. It seems they've been trying to do Darmian as a wingback the last game than necessarily Chiellini. I've seen a mock up of their lineup, and it hasn't been not Chiellini, Chiesa. And it's been Chiesa's not necessarily been featured. Also, when Chiesa has come on, he's been played a little bit more on the left than necessarily the right. And Chiesa had a terrific game in the first one versus Albania, but kind of was very quiet for Spain and didn't necessarily feature much in their third game. And if Chiesa can't go, and you look at just who they have elsewhere, they're kind of starved a little bit for options. Maybe you could find a player to play next to Jorginho, and maybe move Nico Barella a little further up, make him a little bit more advanced. But we'll see what they do. I'm expecting Italy to really kind of bunker down and ask Switzerland to beat them. And Switzerland were able to get behind and kind of attack Yasha Kimmich, with Ndoye. But I don't necessarily know if Switzerland have the ability to break down necessarily a very well designed an aggressive kind of back line. It seems Switzerland would benefit a little bit more in an open game, and I'm not really expecting an open game. I could see this kind of being very stalemate, as I said, maybe even going to as I think it's the first game that kicks off even today. Probably maybe goes into extra time, maybe even PKs. We'll have to see if that pans out or not. But that is Euros, and I do want to get started first with what happened with the U.S. Maybe I'll even cut it short. To be honest, I don't really. I don't necessarily know how long I'll necessarily take on this. So the goals and events we score in the opening 5 minutes with McKennie. It's offsides, but we started off okay. But it's funny enough because I saw a lot of people online saying we started off so great, but and then the red card happened. I want to put a caveat in there. McKennie had the goal that was ruled out, and we did it. I think it was Joe Scally that drew a great PK. It was him and Pulisic. Pulisic had to run over to the right side to kind of help out there. So Scally honestly maybe played his best game. So that's a positive, you can say. But the issue to me was Richards even before this, or I guess maybe before the red card, basically. Had two just hospital balls that were nearly disasters. Maturta had to come out for one, and I think Tim Ream had to go to ground just to to save that. They had one. Panama had one cross in the first 15, 30 seconds, where they basically had someone try a bicycle kick or a scissor kick that almost caused forced Turner to make a save. So we didn't necessarily start as well as what I guess was some people were trying to think, And really, we get two of the events that just happen just right on top of each other. They get another cross that they're able to just swing in. It's a very dangerous cross, and Matt Turner has to go for it, and basically he's flipped on his backside by the attacker being a little too aggressive. And I'm very surprised that the Panama striker didn't even get a caution at all. Matt Turner looks like he should have been injured, and we find out that he was. And then just a few minutes after that, Tim Weah does get his red card, and I, I- I'm kind of in between. I really do want to defend it. I know that no one, the person on Fox said it's a red all day. There's no defending it. The ref basically looked at it for like, I don't know, 5 seconds, maybe even if that. He just looked at it for a second. But before, I rewatched it or replayed it, and right before, he goes in for the second time, you see him do a swim move, to try, kind of like a hook move, I guess, in basketball, and the guy, moves his arm to kind of block it, and to me, I think Wei is trying to do it again, and just he's faster than the other guy, and I think instead of it being blocked, he just catches him in the head. I think it's possible that Wayo actually did try to do some malice intent. You didn't really see, you only saw it for a little bit, even when you try to go back. Uh, you know, uh, yeah, the camera angle wasn't really that magnified, in my opinion. I just think it wasn't that violent. Maybe he does catch him. It's not like the ref gave him a red in the first place, so I didn't necessarily think it was a ref error. So if the ref had immediately sent him off, and you wouldn't, to me, you wouldn't have had enough to overturn it. But for VAR to intervene and to change from a yellow to a red, I just thought it was, maybe I am being a homer. I just thought it was a little too much. But Stuart Holden on Fox had a really good point, in my opinion, that he mentioned how, I think it was in a Canada game, when they went to a review, when someone had a headbutt, and it was a legit headbutt. Now maybe it was a little soft, but it was still, there was a lean, and there was contact, and it was aggressive, and that wasn't turned into a red. And I just think that the inconsistency is what's annoying, but it is what it is. So, have to play down a man, and so how would we respond? We respond really well. We score the first goal. Just an absolute genius play by Balogun, and Balogun was Herculean in this game. This was a legacy defining game, and it's really a shame that we threw it away, for Laurie and Balogun. And we scored. We were down a man. Thanks to feeling pretty good, and then we get caught a little bit, maybe trying to be a little too cute. We get our numbers just completely out of it, and we allow them to find Kawascalia completely open in the middle of the field. The one player of theirs that seems to know what to do with the ball, and he's able to find Blackman, and Blackman does well to kind of get away from both Tim Ream and Anthony Robinson. Anthony Robinson goes in to try to contest, and it's just. He's just unlucky, in my opinion. I don't necessarily think Robinson does necessarily that much wrong, but he does get unfortunate because he's not able to win that duel. The ball's still alive, and Tim Ream and Richards aren't able to get close enough to stop the basically block the second attempt, and the attempt's able to basically sneak past Matt Turner. And then basically Berhalter made a bunch of changes, going into the second half, and even including changing the formation. And frankly, I didn't hate the formation idea. Going to basically a 5-3-1, where you still had Balogun to offer you a transition threat. You still had three in midfield to kind of clutter in the passing lanes, and you had the fifth. You had the two out wide to block the crosses, because the one thing that Panama were really doing really well in that first half was they were getting a lot of dangerous crosses in, because we weren't able to defend it. We were trying to play very narrow, and we were allowing them to cross it in, and it was the only way that they were actually somewhat, causing some trouble. So Berhalter, in my opinion, did make the right change there. Where I think he screwed up is the personnel that he used, and that'll be a big theme that I touch on. One, you took out basically the best player on the ball out, in Arena, in the second half we could not control the ball at all. Another thing too is you had another player you could have brought on that's quite good at keeping the ball when he was being pressed, but also really good with advancing with it, either running it with it or having a pass with him in Jonas Musa. And I just think it would have been a perfect game to kind of bring him on, and instead he got 0 minutes. I think Clint Dempsey was the first one to immediately say that even after the post game. So kudos to him, credit to him. I've actually enjoyed listening to Dempsey have some insights. So it's been a pretty good move by Fox to bring him on. Uh, less with the other people that they have, but I have liked Dempsey a little bit. And the other thing too was he brought on Carter Vickers to be the third center back, not someone when Miles Robinson was right there. And, this is, Carter Vickers to me, for some reason, just looks, I don't wanna say overweight, looks small almost for a center back. Maybe he's 6'1", obviously, taller than me. But, one of the problems that happens for the, earlier on in the, when it came on was, there's a time when, they just float a ball into the box and he can't win the header. It just goes over his head, and he basically, it goes to it finds a Panama player, and he goes for a shot, and Vickers, goes to ground and basically gets very lucky not to have drawn a PK there. And I thought before that he had gotten lucky on not drawing a PK. So and Carter Vickers wasn't necessarily, great on the ball. He didn't really impress when he came on versus Colombia. Carter Vickers has been very, ish, to me. And then the other thing to say is, unfortunately, Mitch had Chris Richards. Chris Richards wasn't good on the ball versus Bolivia. He was kind of shaky again here, and unfortunately, I thought Tim Ream was kind of unfortunate in this game as well. It just seems he doesn't have that ability to recover ground quickly enough. So you're playing down a man already. You need to be able to cover as much ground as possible. And I thought we played a significantly deeper line in that second half. It's fine to play with a back five. I would like that line to be much higher up, and we couldn't do it because of Tim Ream. And also Carter Vickers came on, and he doesn't have a lot of pace to his game either. I thought it was a massive mistake not to bring on Robinson. And going forward, I already mentioned it how I thought it was a mistake not to bring Austin Trusty. I think this should be the last tournament that we see Tim Ream. There's been talks about maybe him having a chance to lead us out for in 2026. Tim Ream's been a great story, and you can maybe include him for a roster spot for leadership. I've kind of mentioned that even before this. I don't want to see him starting games. We need to take this seriously, and some teams can do with this. You've seen like Pepe on Portugal. He's still able to play at a high level. And Tim Ream, we showed his quality on the ball versus Brazil, but I just think it doesn't. It's never really fit. The way Berhalter likes playing, and just in this game, it cost him. It cost us on his ability to recover ground because he's late. He's kind of caught in no man's land for the second goal. Unfortunate. So. Basically, yeah, that is what happens in the towards the end. I think in the 83rd minute, Forgiato is able to get a rebound in. It's a wonderful early cross. The cross actually is what creates the goal, in my opinion. It's a very nice. Someone gets the ball that keeps from going out. I think it's Carrasquilla goes to someone on the wing. He does a very good job to keep it from going out. Heads it back in, and the guy that sends the ball in has a great first touch to go around whoever is near him, and then without even thinking, his first thought is to whip that ball into the box early. And I think because it's early, it catches us off guard. It's also a really good finish, though. It's easy to get this wrong and hit this over the net. So he gets the right spin because I think it bounces right before him as well, and he just gets the right touch to go past Ethan Horvath. And unfortunately for us, it's right at Ethan Horvath, and maybe someone with a little bit more in his game. I think Turner saves it. It is right at him, and it's easier for me to say. I'm not a international keeper, but it does go through his legs, or it does go through his arms, and it's hit right at him, and it's hit with a lot of force, and it happens really quickly, and it's just unlucky. But I do think Turner probably could have saved it. So not having him did factor in, and then Balogun was so good individually, just not just getting the goal with a wonderful left foot strike from distance, but also basically was sent in towards the end of the first half with a great ball sent in by Joe Scally, and just maybe he had one too many touches that took him a little too far wide, but at least had a nice shot that hit the crossbar. To me, Balogun, the biggest compliment I can say is he was reminding me a lot of what Dorian Nunes did versus Newcastle when Liverpool had to play down a man. He was everywhere. He was drawing fouls. He was being strong on the ball. He was holding it up, it was the perfect game for him. And then there was also a moment when Kristen Pulisic had a great little dribble in the second half and was able to feed Balogun in as well. And he nearly found the corner with another shot. Just didn't get the bend that he wanted, but he was everywhere. And then we took him off, and we took him off for Ricardo Pepe. And I've mentioned it before. I've liked Pepe to maybe even be our starter, but this was not the game for him. And again, it's the you don't want to like necessarily stereotype, but you can look at profiles. I don't know necessarily it's stereotype or not. Ricardo Pepe to me is when you have a lot of the ball and you're going to do a lot of crosses, and you need someone to get on the end of those crosses. Uh, Balogun to me it works much better when you have a lot of space to make those runs in behind, and you've got someone that when you have an open game and you can maybe play in those runs. And just this was a perfect game for him. And I thought Balogun still had some energy. And if Balogun was tired, you had Haji Wright to bring on, who would have been a better fit than a Pepe. Pepe wants to drop back and link up, and Pepe does do a very good job of showing for the ball. He has a header to McKennie. McKennie does well to run to the byline. He has a good cross over the into the 6 yard area. It's to the back post, and Pepe is there, and he has a weak header. And this was before they got their second goal. So this was a chance to even win the game. And I just think if Wright's in that situation, I think he does better. Wright's also taller. I think Pepe maybe messes up his jump. He gets enough contact on it, and it's right at the keeper. I think even with the weak contact, if he's able to find the corner of the post, and maybe it is harsh. You don't want to necessarily blame this on Pepe, but it is unfortunate that he's come into the tournament and he's missed 3 or 4 chances. He missed a number versus Bolivia as well. And this was a legacy and statement game for both strikers, really. Balogun, I think, kind of maybe put a rubber stamp a little bit on him being the starter, but we'll see. We'll see how this works versus Uruguay. Maybe Pepe can come on and redeem himself and actually be the hero versus Uruguay. Well, I mean, I'm not expecting that, but who knows if that happens? That has been Pepe's mo. His mo, and it has been two things: being very good off the bench and being very good at saving Berhalter's job. And basically, everyone's kind of come to the consensus that if we do not advance and we get beat by Uruguay, that probably is going to be Berhalter's job. And everyone's going to the people that will defend it will say, well, the red card, took us out of it, and maybe, but even so, even if you ignore that, we haven't really had a statement win, and this is a chance coming up against Uruguay to get a statement win. And I don't think we're ready. I didn't love. The squad selection coming into this, I've already mentioned it before. There were a couple of guys we could have brought in that maybe could have helped. We're weak at the number 6 position. Tyler Adams to me doesn't look fit at all, and if he's only able to play a few games here and there, now maybe you bring him for leadership. But that Leonard Maloney guy that's been playing in Germany, 6'2", 6'3", that basically I think he's going to be in a Champions League team, or he's going to be in a Europa team next year because they finished 8th place, and Germany gets a lot of positions for Europe next year. He would have been someone to maybe think about, and it's just I want to say he's kind of come to mind. I haven't really understood the idea of bringing Sargent. So maybe you could have even used that for a position. And also, Sargent came on, and when the U.S. went down a man, and just why? Sargent is a player that kind of comes for. He drops in, and he's a very good presser. He's good at winning the ball back. But he's never, even when he was like featuring for us full time, he's never really been a prolific goal scorer. And you needed to score at that point. And I just yeah. So I've been anti Berhalter from the start for him returning. I didn't like him. I didn't think we did necessarily great with the World Cup, and then we see this, and so yeah, I am. I don't want to necessarily am on the joining the bandwagon, but I am on the Berhalter out kind of call, and the only thing I'm worried about is I don't really love. There's been no real change in the higher ups. I don't want Berhalter to just be the scapegoat. Berhalter to me is a giant problem and a giant face of the problem, but he's not. He's not the main guy, and a lot of people that have been defending him all the way up to this, I think, need to be called out as well. Both in U.S. soccer, media, also MLS media, and the people that in charge that hired Berhalter in the first place. And we'll see what Beasla's Uruguay has in store for us. I'm not looking forward to this, but we'll see, we'll see. But Berhalter has had that all a Solskjaer kind of energy where every time it looks like he's going to be fired, someone saves his job, and if we beat Uruguay, that probably will save his job. So we get to the starting 11. We didn't really see any changes. So I was even against playing Tyler Adams even beforehand. So Panama in a back five. You see they're going to line up. You figured that was going to happen anyways. The bunker in. They're probably not going to press. You need someone to kind of split through lines. There, Tyler Adams is more of a really good player to when you're being pressed. You need to just keep the ball. And so Tyler Adams might work for Uruguay, but is he going to be able to fit to handle that pressure? Uruguay has been the most intense team in the entire tournament. And then I'm thinking again of our center backs, Tim Ream versus Darwin Núñez running at him. I think Tim Ream could even do his hamstring. I really am worried about that. So and not just in a high line either. Even in the box, just Núñez is so quick. Someone's going to draw contact and draw foul. Or maybe your Uruguay don't even play Nunez. Maybe even if they go with Suarez, it's not ideal. Maybe Uruguay rest some players. That's probably the best chance that we have. But even then, I want Johnny Cardoso just to even start the game because to me starting Tyler Adams when you knew he was on a minutes restriction and you knew you were going to sub him at halftime. That's to me saying you don't need him. You don't need that sub, and that to me is almost like disrespecting Panama just from the start. I also wanted Musa to play over McKinney. McKinney wasn't necessarily bad, uh, but it's just I think it's very weird how we've decided to kind of change the roles a little bit with Gio Reyna and Reston McKinney. And when we went down a man, we seem to be using Gio Reyna as the more. We went to basically 4-4-1. We use Gio Reyna as the more kind of outside, wide position to maybe help with Scally. When I think McKinney does that job almost for Juventus, he plays almost like a wide midfielder at times. I don't understand why you don't do that and you don't play Gio Reyna a little bit more centrally because Gio Reyna is the best player on the ball. And Gio Reyna didn't get enough touches, and then obviously he gets hooked at halftime. So again, it's the decisions that we've made. Also, in this game, when you figured Panama's going to be playing super duper deep, why don't you just play someone like a Musa and Johnny Cardoza as a pivot together, and then you can play Gio almost in his 10 role. We didn't see it, so that is what it is. So already kind of said what really happened, so I don't necessarily need to go into that. Another thing too is after the red card, Berhalter didn't make changes until the second half. So I think we maybe even got lucky that the Panama didn't get a second one because the way that Panama was, getting some crosses, just flashing it across the box, and the way that Matt Turner didn't necessarily look that great. It's thankful that Matt Turner wasn't actually asked to make a save after conceding. But this I do think we could have there could have been time to make changes there, and just I think the one thing that really did frustrate me is if nothing else, you basically had to have one game plan. I don't even watch Panama. I rarely see any of their games, but I knew that the one player you needed to focus on, the one player that you need to let anyone else beat you. Don't let Carrascalia get the ball in the Coco Carrascalia get the ball in the middle third of the field unmarked where he can turn and he's got runners ahead of him. I knew that, and that's basically where they get their first goal. Also, Coco has the cross that helps get them the second goal. He's the one that floats the ball that then some player does really well to keep it alive, and then that's the basically that's how they get their second goal. So that is where the game went. And it was not good. Not good with the Tim Ray red card, obviously. And it's just, but there were still times for other things to happen. And the thing that I'm going to focus on is I can't think of a single time Berhalter has been in charge where he's been put in a pressure situation. They've had some adversity outside of like beating Mexico in a couple finals, where he's been forced to have to make a decision where he's won a game by doing it. I can't think of a single time. Maybe it's happened, and I'm not giving him credit for it. But I really can't. I think for the most part, when we had the better players against inferior competition, that's when we've been able to get our best basically results. So I guess he's done a decent job of somewhat sometimes getting the squad lineup right, though he didn't do that in Qatar. So I so it's not just the red card. Now the red card does hurt. Another thing I'll say too is this is not the first time that this has happened where someone was really undisciplined for like the dumbest of reasons. I tried to make a defense of Weah, but at the same time, he did do what he did, and if maybe there was if there was any kind of malicious intent, uh, you know, it's the second time this has happened since Berhalter has returned to the team. This happened with Serginho Dest versus Trinidad and Tobago, and basically, I think it was in one of the qualifiers to even get into Copa America, and I think the weird thing about that game as well was we tried basically doing a we tried playing Pepe and Balogun together. And we tried a different formation. We actually tried almost like a 4-2-2-2, which I liked the idea of experimenting. But once you went down a man, that was not the idea to chill to still try to see if you could play those two strikers together. And we did that, and we basically were playing down a man. We playing with two strikers. That's not usually what people do. People usually try to move that around, and that could have been a chance to almost kind of experience. What do you do when you're down a man? We didn't use that as an exercise, unfortunately, and we lost the game. So that is kind of just where we are. I think I've kind of mentioned all my gripes a little bit, and they are now in a bad situation. Panama. The only thing I could say about Panama is without Carrasquilla, because he picked up a very dumb a red card towards the end of the game, fouling Pulisic. Maybe they will struggle versus Bolivia, who I really don't know. Bolivia have not been necessarily that impressive, to say the least, and so there we go. That's kind of where we are, and I mentioned how it is important because it was almost a legacy game. I think it's still a legacy game. It was so good for Balogun, and we just kind of wasted it. Uh, I think we also wasted. We haven't. We For some reason we don't play Giorena in the way that he can best help us, and it's not. I don't want to get into a situation where I'm saying uh, J-Ray can only play in one position, and when he's not played in his best position, he doesn't work. I think Giorena, if anything else, is kind of flip the narrative on that. I think he can play anywhere. I don't want to say him as a striker necessarily, but to me, he's become a utility kind of player, and when you can play him in positions he's not necessarily his best at, he still works. I don't really understand why he hasn't gotten any kind of why Dortmund haven't decided to stick with him, or why he didn't necessarily work at Nottingham Forest, but he got a lot of time to get healthy at Nottingham Forest, and maybe he got a lot of time to learn a little bit under Nuno Espirito, the Forest coach, because I think this is as good as Reina has looked for us in some time. Obviously, not necessarily this game, but just the last few times we've been able to see him, he's been very very good, and he was very good for us. One of the few positives for us, in my opinion, in the friendly windows. It's just we've been playing a little bit differently to almost fit Weston McKennie a little further upfield, which I don't necessarily think benefits his game. And McKennie's kind of in a weird situation where all of a sudden he's got a lot of rumors about him where he's not going to go to Aston Villa or some Europe club. He might even come back to the MLS. So that is which is I remember when that happened in before the 2018 qualifying for World Cup. I think it happened in like somewhere 2015, 2014, where not what 2014. What have happened 2014 or 2015 when Clint Dempsey and Michael Bradley and maybe someone else came back from Europe to come. Maybe Jose Altidore came back to join the MLS. They were all a little bit older as well. McKinney's I think only about to turn 25. So I don't really like that idea. I don't think the MLS does a good enough job to necessarily prepare you for international soccer. And I think McKinney's touch have actually been letting him down a little bit. So those are just kind of the things that I've been a little bit worried about. Matt Turner, if he can't go, Horvath, maybe Horvath will play a little bit better for Reverse Uruguay. It's hard to be thrown into the ringer with very very cold. Uh, uh, so we'll see. We'll see if that changes or not. You'd like to maybe get a better chance to redeem himself. So maybe that'll happen. I don't really know. and we'll see if maybe Bieslow can be nice and rotate his squad, not necessarily having to play a lot of people. I'm not expecting it to. I'm expecting them to go as hard as possible because it's been rumored that Bieslow was interested actually in the U.S. job, and we decided not to even look at him. And maybe he's going to have that in mind. I don't know. If nothing else, Uruguay. I don't see how we don't hold them to at least a couple of goals. But we'll see. We'll see how it works. And then with Panama was a weird way for them to end the game. Yeah, they get the goal lead. And one thing too is they were playing with a back five, back three the entire game, and they weren't really able to necessarily the get that man advantage to really necessarily factor in. They only had 12 shots the entire game. I don't. They only had six in the second half when they were up a man. So them playing with back three definitely helped out because we didn't necessarily care about that when their three center backs had the ball. One thing they were able to do is, their coach did make some pretty nice subs. Unfortunately, one of the guys that he brought on ended up, scoring the second goal. But another thing too is it seemed they were very good at getting their three strikers to play very centrally, very next to each other and clog the middle of the field just in case a ball came in. Maybe there would be a second ball to try to get in there, and basically that's how they get their second goal. Is we ended up kind of losing our marker a little bit. So I thought they did a good job to at least get their numbers forward in moments. But I was a little bit surprised in kind of the way that they went about it. So people were wondering why did we go to a back three? Why did we do this and that? I actually think it was a good change by Berhalter. Just I didn't like the personnel that he used because it was effective. A team that we were playing it down a man, we got more shots I think on goal than necessarily them. They had three on target. I think we had three as well on target. The big danger was them getting crosses out, and unfortunately they do beat us by getting a cross in. But we were able to block most of those because of switching to a back five and being able to defend the wide areas better. I just didn't like again the people that we brought on to make that change. So I'm slightly giving Berhalter credit, but also kind of bringing him down a little bit. And so that's where we are with Copa. And then just kind of quickly run down with what happened in Euros. I don't want to go over every game. So I guess I'll just quickly go over what happened with Netherlands and Austria. Daniel Malin with an own goal, great run by Prass. Even before this, Prass made a couple runs, a couple crosses that were. Gertruda didn't really know what to necessarily do. Malin was actually not really doing well to track the runs for by Prass. And it was 1-0 at halftime. And again, Netherlands was so bad on the ball that the coach had to bring off one of his players after 30 minutes, which is not usually a great thing. And he took off Joey Veerman, the PSV player. And it's unfortunate for him. Just maybe he's young. He first international kind of tournament. Probably only playing because no Frankie De Jong. I think that if nothing else, they need to play Gini Ronaldo just to have some kind of someone that understands that has kind of experience just kind of playing a little bit in this. And Ronaldo did come on in the second half, which helped them a little bit. Uh, but that was unfortunate, and so went in 1-0. Netherlands needed to they thought they maybe needed to win the game, and Gakpo helps them out. After I think there's some kind of turnover that they're able to I think it's Gertruda. Gertruda seemed to play a little bit more in midfield almost than necessarily a right back. It seemed like Gertruda was better at that position. He's able to help create a turnover, and then they Shabby Simmons that had just come on that had come on for Veerman. It almost seemed like they brought in a number 10 player to kind of change formations a little bit. And he had basically Malin, he had Memphis, and he had Gakpo all in front of him, which is ideal when you have a connector on the ball. Plays it to Gakpo, and Gakpo has a nice little cut to go up to have the defender to go past him, and then he's able to find the corner with a great finish. And but then that's when the fun happened. Austria get a second with Schmidt in the 52nd, 59th minute, where there's a great run in. Let's see if I can remember how this happened. Van Dijk. Van Dijk probably wants us back. He has a poor clearance where the ball just kind of stays with Austria. Sabitzer gets on the ball, plays it to Press, and then Press has a terrific through ball to play in Grealish, who made a run, kind of a disguise run, not really picked out by the byline. You can go at Katrina, maybe you can go at maybe I think it's to the other PSV player, Schlotten, who just kind of loses the run basically, and they Austria gets the byline, and then it's a great kind of just floated ball back into the 6-yard area where Schmidt is able to to get the header to go in. So it's poor a little bit by Van Dijk with the poor clearance, but also it's also poor by Schlotten, in my opinion. And Gertruda didn't necessarily know where his marker was as well. And I just think Austria just seemed to they're very good at just kind of recognizing the most dangerous parts on the pitch. They're very good at just kind of exploiting that. And in my opinion, the thing that impressed me most in this game was it's not just the kind of running that they did out of possession. Everyone's been talking about how they've been very good at closing down. Almost they've been amazing also at the counter pressing. So when they lose the ball, they were able to swarm Netherlands, win the ball back. That's kind of that's the main that the Gergen pressing that the this guy Ralph Ragnick is really kind of more known for than even Klopp, apparently. But the main thing that I really liked is what they did with the ball. They seem to understand a lot of clever runs. They made runs as well, and just that to me was a little bit more impressive than I mean. It still requires a lot of energy to play both ways. That has also been something you can praise them for. And so, but then we get the fireworks. So Netherlands respond with Memphis, and Weghorst had since come on, and he's immediately contributes. So first he gets his body in the way to kind of keep the ball, and then Dutch are able to build up. They find Gakpo on the left, and Gakpo has a great cross into the box that flies over everyone. But Weghorst, being his 6'7" body, is able to win the header and then keep the attack alive. And it finds Memphis in the box, and Memphis has amazing body control to control this. And then he jumps in, and he's able to get his I guess knee in the right position to get that volley in. To keep it from going high. This is very easy to hit over, and he gets his knee over the ball to keep it at the right angle. It's an amazing finish. But it's not enough. In the 80th minute, Sabitzer, and so Sabitzer first has a run to break all the way up the field. He has a nice little sprint, plays it to Press again, who squares it to Bumgarner, and then Bumgarner, who had since come on, has a first time to find Sabitzer, continuing his run into the box. And unfortunately, Van Dijk is playing him well on sides on the other side of the pitch. And Sabitzer gets the ball in the box and finishes it from the tight angle with a terrific shot. Two occasions where someone was able to slip in behind Schlotten, unfortunately for him, for the easy run into the box. And then there was a chance at the end where Rangenhorst had a chance, to be basically the Flying Dutchman. There's a great ball sent in to him by I think Gertruda, and Rangenhorst dives, and he's just a little unlucky in my opinion. You don't really want to go with him. It is a pretty big chance, but it is a hard chance. But he almost he did connect on it, but it flew a little too high. Uh, Malin's going to want this game back as well because he had the own goal and he also had a chance to redeem himself in the first half where he was played in through, I think, Rangers had a great little through ball. And Malin 1v1 with the goalkeeper and just almost kind of whiffed it. Really, really poor finish there. So Netherlands have been a very, very weird game, weird team. And I just think, I mentioned it before, missing Frankie De Jong. I think using missing Gini Ronaldo, who they have in the bench. But it's just it's enough about Netherlands. This really is about Austria. So they possession was about even, which is not what you would expect. Passes, Netherlands only had 358 passes. Which is not probably what you would have expected as well. Netherlands with 11 shots, but only 2 on target. They're not playing with a striker, so that's a problem as well. The way they're trying Memphis is looking everywhere for the ball, not really making any kind of runs, and it's quite easy for people to, especially with Austria. Austria is gonna run with you. They're not afraid of playing a high line, and there was really no one to kind of stretch it. So I think it was a mistake not to play Frimpong. Frimpong was giving a rest. And they went with Malin. Malin didn't really work. This was a little problematic, but it's not just about them. It is about Austria. So already kind of talked a little bit about them. They're basically able to make Veerman's life a little bit hell, but Press is the guy that keeps kind of impressing. Sabitzer and I think Schmen was even man of the match, but Press to me the kind of forward minding balls, the way he looked very good going forward. He kept getting free. I thought he was making the right decisions. The only kind of negative was when Memphis was actually getting on him, I think towards the end of the second half, or even Xavi Simmons when he was moved over. There was a couple times when he wasn't doing the best defensively, so he was beaten 1v1 a couple of times. So I forget who they have drawn to play against, but maybe if Press does have to start that game, maybe that team can have, let's see who they drew. They drew Turkey. Ooh, Prass versus Arda Güler potentially. That could be maybe an issue. We'll have to see if that pans out or not. But that's just where we are with that game, and I don't know how many games I want to actually go in with depth. Uh, I do want to touch on England, obviously, so I'll probably touch on that one next. Tried to finish this in before France and Poland. I guess I'll touch on that. Mbappe with the PK, and then Robert Lewandowski with the PK. Got to take it twice because Maignan was able to ran off his line. I kind of think people were right to kind of harp on that because Robert Lewandowski's penalty kick kind of wind up. He stops and starts. He does the stutter step. He does all this other stuff. Why not give a little more of advantage to a keeper? Keepers used to be able to leave their line. I wouldn't be against that. So. Uh, I think that's kind of where to maybe start with that. Kind of the leading story was masked Mbappe. So Mbappe was able to return. Didn't like his mask, but I thought he was very very good. This is probably as good as he's looked in some time. He was good versus Poland. To be fair to him as well. He didn't necessarily have his best in the PS for his PSG team, but he's looked himself, and he's looked. This is probably as good as he's looked in some time. And one of the reasons I'm going to get to that is we saw a bit of a change. We saw Bradley Barcola play on the left, and the little link ups that he had with him were very, very good. And also, it seems the way that they're using Rabiot to kind of almost shield for when Hernandez goes forward. They've got that nice little triangle, nice little connection that they're able to play with, and it's been good. If not for the Polish keeper, and it wasn't Stechny, it was someone else. France would have been well ahead. So the Polish keeper was able to keep them in. But a couple of the chances with Mbappe that I want to focus on. Probably the best play of the half was where here he kind of he shows for the ball centrally in the box, plays it to Barcola, and Barcola tries to go past someone, but Mbappe basically outruns him to the ball and is able to. He tries to beat the keeper with a quick shot, but the keeper does well to get a glove save. And then we have almost a similar move, but this is even better. This is almost Messi like, where he kicks the ball to basically a teammate, and he continues his run, and he's expecting the return ball. And I think it's Barcola. Barcola recognizes to do it, and Barcola is his PSG teammate, so maybe it kind of works there. They have that relationship and connection, or I don't know, chemistry. I don't. They have the repetition of basically doing this before. So Hernandez gets the ball in the wing, plays it centrally, finds Mbappe, and Mbappe plays it to Barcola. And he's immediately going into the sprint, and then Barcola sees it, has a nice flick, and Mbappe is able to get behind everyone in the box. The only issue here is Mbappe is basically your striker, and he's made this run, and there's no one that recognizes to also kind of be in that central kind of area. And Dembele is a little late, and Mbappe tries to beat the keeper from a tight angle, and it isn't able to do it. But or maybe even the mask was maybe affecting his vision. But he was Mbappe for being on a mask, and he alleviated that concerns at least. I think he ended up with something like 5 shots on target. He had 6 dribbles completed, 70 plus touches. He was very very good. This was the first time when France at least kind of quelled at least some of those concerns. I still have concerns for them going forward in the tournament as far as midfield selections, and also Dembele at least was a little bit better here. He's able to actually draw the PK from Kiwior, but I think Dembele is one of the concerns I've had as well. Also, Poland get the PK because Upamecano sticks his foot into the cookie jar and basically draws contact. Upamecano is playing over someone like a Kanate. And there's been a lot of talk about Saliba versus Kanate, and it's been maybe it's Upamecano. Deschamps seems to like him. Kanate hasn't been playing. This Euros, so maybe that's some Liverpool gripe. I don't really know, but this was more of a case of France didn't really have to win, but actually maybe I shouldn't say that because by not winning, by not beating Poland, they find themselves in with a really bad draw. Basically, they get Belgium, and if they beat Belgium, it's possible they play. It's either Germany or I think it's Portugal. If Portugal win their game, it's possible Portugal for the quarterfinal, which is that's not a fun way to go into a tournament before you even get to potentially a Spain or Germany waiting for you in the semis. So it does hurt them that they weren't able to win this game. And one thing that I think, Fox people were talking about was because actually was watching the Netherlands game in real life, so I wasn't really able to watch this game. The one things they talked about was Mbappe playing through the middle can work, but he obviously he leaves that spot to really play on the left, and whether or not you're gonna play Giroud or even Kolo Muani, or maybe the idea with Barcola actually was really likely. It was the first time we saw that. I was thinking you could play Barcola maybe on the right, or even maybe you can try Kolo Muani on the right. I do think Dembele has been a little bit of their problem as well. But we'll see. But another thing too is France haven't been the best in midfield. This Conte, Camavinga, and Chouameni. You've got three brilliant ball winners for you, and he's been playing Rabiot as well. And it seems like the idea is just win the ball back and then give it to Griezmann, and then Griezmann can kind of be your kind of creative little player to either play balls through lines, find a link up, play Mbappe or someone else. I don't really know if that'll necessarily work for the better teams. I do think you need someone that's better in that area, but it doesn't seem like they necessarily have that player. I have mentioned Zaire Emery, but Zaire Emery hasn't gotten a single minute yet. So it's probably not going to be him. So I don't really know where they go for there. Or the idea really will be just that have your ball winners. I mean, they've been stout defensively, to be fair, and Magnon's been an amazing keeper for them. So maybe that can be enough. You just you bunker down, you have your ball winners, win you the ball back, and then you've got the best transition game in the game, and basically you win that way. Maybe you win ugly. Might not necessarily be pretty, but you've got enough to cause trouble. They've got enough to really. Belgium's back line. There's just no way that they can handle Mbappe. Now, Belgium can maybe De Bruyne is able to star off. Maybe Lukaku finally does put away a couple chances, but I don't really see how they're gonna hold France. Maybe that could be a high scoring game, but I think France have enough for Belgium. France versus Portugal could be really lights out of a game. A rematch of the 2016 finals. Uh, but we'll have to see. France, weirdly enough to me, I did mention how I probably backed Spain. France, I do feel like just in general they're the strongest team. Um, but we'll have to see if that does pan out. I have said the actual as far as depth wise, I have been talking up Portugal as well. I don't trust Martinez. Deschamps to me can be a little Southgatey as well. I don't necessarily know if I trust his tactical brain. But it's just Mbappe. Mbappe's gonna be the best player in any game he plays in, including Portugal with Ronaldo. So it's hard, and the way that he looked with Barcola, we haven't really seen Barcola much. Now, maybe Deschamps doesn't do that. Maybe Deschamps just plays Giroud with Mbappe. I don't really know, but if Barcola is able to feature a little bit more, Barcola looked really good. I would personally like to see that, and I don't really know what he'll do with Dembele, but Mbappe to me, I think can probably carry them. But we'll have to see if he does or not. And then with Poland, it was really rotten luck to have Lewandowski pick up his thigh injury right as the tournament started. They gave themselves a pretty good showing, even without Lewandowski. They were able to get him back, midway through the tournament. He was able to score a PK here. He had a couple headers, couple chances. We don't really know if it'll be his last time at an international tournament. Uh, but it does feel like the generation kind of following up. You don't really see who they have for striker. But as far as they kind of couple players in midfield that really did impress, and the keeper even after Szczesny looks like he could possibly be pretty good for them. So kind of maybe a transition moment a little bit for Poland, and who knows what could have been in their cards had they been able to see out that game versus Netherlands. Basically, because they had the goal lead, and then towards the end, basically conceded two kind of late, and I think it was Rainhorst that came on and got the game winner on them late when they played quite well in that game. So we say goodbye to Poland, and then Denmark and let's see. And then with Denmark and Serbia, they played to a 0-0. Not a ton happened here. Denmark had 10 shots. I think Serbia had like 5. But both teams did score. Both were ruled out. Both teams had penalty shouts. I think Serbia were probably one of the more disappointing sides in the tournament, just simply based on who they had for striker force. The midfield was technically good with Milik Savic. Dusan Blahovic, Mitrovic. I don't really get how Mitrovic didn't score in this tournament. Even Jovetic, probably even was the best player of their attacking three. They had someone like a Tadic to even kind of play make a little bit for them. It is a little bit surprising. Serbia weren't a little bit better than what they showed. Uh, and then with Denmark, I don't really know what to think about them either. They again, I mentioned how they've been very. They've only played basically a game and a half, if that. They've only played maybe 90 minutes total of good football over 3 games, and so that's not really ideal going into this. Uh, I think the one thing that's kind of funny is, Ericsson has been positive in all 3 games for him, so that has been a fun little story with Ericsson not just being back, but actually being quite good. We didn't really see him much from Man United this season, so Ericsson being positive has been solid for them. Joakim Mæhle was very good for England as a right back, and then he played left back in here, and then he came on after then he switched over to right back, so he played both positions in this game. So he's showing his versatility a little bit. He created probably 2 of their best chances, both for the right back and as a left back. Uh, one thing I don't really trust them on is Vestergaard. Vestergaard having to defend against a Musiala or Wirtz in the box. I have a feeling one of them will draw a PK. Also, I think maybe Havertz can have a disaster class, but I mentioned how Ericsson's really good at getting into tight spaces and kind of controlling things. Gunnar into me can kind of do that too, and I just think we'll see what Denmark are able to do. Uh, one of the maybe negatives, one of the positives, at least versus England, was Horberg, and I didn't necessarily think Horberg had his best game here. But another, one positive you can say is Morten Højlund of Sporting had another really good game. He's probably been one of the more kind of surprising, kind of rising stars a little bit in the tournament. Just kind of a what you would look at to be almost like a defensive minded midfielder. He's been one of the better passers, one of the quicker kind of ball decision making players in midfield for any team. And he was good doing that in this game as well. So if they're going to have a shot, maybe he's probably going to have to play a role. And he's also a defensive minded center back, so maybe he can do a job on either a Cruz or Gunnar, and we'll have to see. So do I give them a shot for Germany? Probably don't, but I do think it could possibly get that could be a close game. But I do think Germany just have enough to go through. But we'll have to see if that pans out or not. And then we'll get to England and Slovenia, where this game also was 0-0 and nothing happened in the first half. Southgate made it clear that he thought Alexander Arnold was the only issue in the side, and Conor Gallagher played in his stead and didn't complete a pass 20 minutes into the game. England basically didn't have a shot 25 minutes into the game, and then they finally actually moved the ball quite quickly, where they scored, and it was just offside. But it was finally the one time when England actually did move the ball quite quickly, and it was created by Phil Foden. So Phil Foden gets the ball on the sideline, feeds it backwards to Trippier, and Trippier has a solid pass to Rice, kind of square, and then Rice, to be credit to him, finally decides to be quick minded with the ball, and so credit real due. It's fine to praise players when they do the right thing, and it shows that Rice has this ability to play this kind of ball. It just feels like he's more risk averse until he's in the final third, which is not ideal if you're playing him as your holder. So Rice further upfield, which is what I suggested last time speaking. I think it's still a good shout. To be honest, he can do a job player, and I think if anything, he's learned how to get better at producing more in the final thirds. You can credit maybe Arteta a little bit there. It's just when he's been asked to do like the early kind of build up play, I think that's when his brain kind of freezes and he goes side to side, and we saw that in this game as well. I mean, that's the reason why England had like 80% of the ball and didn't have a shot 20 minutes into the game. Uh, but here after Rice plays him in, Foden is just a little offside, and then Foden is able to do the square ball to find Saka. So Foden was a little bit more advantageous or more kind of impactful. But I think it's not a coincidence that it coincided a little bit with Bellingham maybe having his least impactful game. So Foden here has a clever carry with the ball. He has Harry Kane to play in and just missets the pass, and it just feels like Foden not being able to click with Harry Kane. I think it is most to do with Foden, playing on the left and not being able to use his left foot to really be able to play make. But that's been a big issue. The Harry Kane has not really had his best tournament. One, he's not really making runs himself, but two, that connection with Phil Foden. I think they mentioned how Foden has completed two passes back to the keeper, and he's only completed one to Harry Kane over the three games, which kind of says a little bit where England have been, going forward. And Kane did have a couple of efforts, but both were basically comfortable saves. And then they had a chance in towards the end, towards the end of the first half, where Trippier had a cross. He was able to use his right foot, so it actually worked out here. Nearly finds both Gallagher and Kane. But England were very dire in the first half. I think what's really funny is Southgate set up to play Conor Gallagher to basically play everyone a little higher up to just win the ball back. And you're playing against a Villiania who were not afraid to just boot it away as far as possible as their first action. They were fine to just sit in a shell, and they did not care about having the ball at all. And England played a team to win the ball back, and they weren't able to really do it. And so at that point, you needed to be able to break them down. And you sat your best passer on the on someone to be a ball winner, and so that didn't really work out. But also, Foden and Jude just seemed to be running into each other more and more. And Foden did have his a little more joy, sometimes essentially as well. But it seemed when he's doing that, Jude was kind of forced to be on the left, just kind of take up that space. Just seems no one likes playing on that side, and just England have been broken. They've been just right-sided biased basically the entire time. Trippier, as well has led to that, and so that all this talk about Alexander Arnold or Saka. Now, at least the idea of Saka that Ian Wright brought up was the idea of finally having someone that can play and play make from the left back role. But you haven't seen Saka do that in like 2 or 3 years now. So, but that just shows you the how dire of this situation is. When Trent Alexander-Arnold came on, it was Kyle Walker that had to play for Trippier, and if Trippier can't go, uh, there's Joe Gomez, but Joe Gomez isn't really a left foot fullback either. It just gets weirder and weirder. No one in that back line, either Konsa, Mark Gahey, or even John Stones, has a left foot. So you left Braithwaite, the idea was just that everything was reliant on Harry Maguire for some reason, but Braithwaite and Colwell, and I don't have to go through that spiel again. Tyreek Mitchell potentially. There were players to bring into camp that you knew possibly could have helped you out a little bit more, and that is on Southgate. So it's very fun. It's hard not to compare between Berhalter and Southgate. To me, that's very similar. So the first half was not good, and so everyone assumed there were going to be changes to be made. I was wondering, could we finally see Adam Wharton? Maybe that could be a change, and instead we see Kobe Mano. Kobe Mano came on and was good, but he's not a high touch, high volume passer to help you get Foden, Bellingham touches into the spaces they want. Neither is Gallagher, to be fair. But Kobe Mano, one thing that Gallagher was doing was to me he was hiding from the ball. He was playing really high up, away from Declan Rice. Declan Rice was getting it. There was no one near him. Declan Rice had to pass through lines to get the ball to people. Kobe Mano was showing for the ball. Kobe Mano is not afraid of the ball. He's very good at getting it, turning it, and making quick decisions on it. So you at least saw that, and England were a much better team with Mano coming on. So that that's worked here. I'm a little bit curious to see if it would work versus a different team. But a team that was just sitting back that just did not, a team that basically just didn't want to concede. Basically, they did not care with England having the ball. They weren't really pressing. There was no any kind of ball pressure on it. You had to force them to come out of their shell. They were able to, at least have some combinations together. So that was positive. But really, and then we saw Saka come off for Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer was having a few kind of forward-minded quick actions, which was able to get England a little bit closer in the goal box. Nothing was really coming from it. But then the real change happened when Anthony Gordon came on, and it happened late. It's Cole Palmer's shot. Uh, it's only basically 90 seconds of play, but I think this is where you saw what England can be. So Gordon does drop for the ball, so you don't really having the outlet ahead, but it's fine here because he has the pace. And so what he does is he gets the ball from deep, I think from Trippier, and his direct intention is and he's quicker than the person covering him. He's able to get into a space where the Slovenia people can't catch up in time. A gap opens up. Kobe Mano makes him run into the gap, and Anthony Gordon plays that through ball, something that we haven't seen anyone in England do the entire tournament. and Mano gets it. Mano has a quick, nice little back heel flick to find Harry Kane. Then Harry Kane quickly plays it to Cole Palmer. Just quick one touch football. We haven't seen this from England the entire tournament, and Palmer basically has the poor shot. But all of this was positive, and this is possibly what England can be. We just haven't seen it. We also haven't seen Gordon play all tournaments. So it was maybe the worst England game that England had played at halftime. So those were the positives. At least they ended on a positive. But still, XG point 0.8 to Slovenia's 0.15. Shots England on 12 and 4 on target. Slovenia 4 and 1. England with 70 ended with 73% possession. 682 passes. 91% completed. But high passing like this versus a team sitting off you isn't that impressive, to be honest. But I just think it's funny. Southgate looked at this and he was like, "Okay, all of my issues is Trent Alexander-Arnold. We're playing him out of positions. So be it. So we'll play Conor Gallagher. That'll solve it all." And it almost seemed like it made it worse because it seemed Declan Rice was even more isolated. But playing Kobe Mano, at least Kobe Mano was showing for the ball, and so they were able to at least advance it a little bit more that way. So that was positive. Another thing too that I was wondering about was so you basically you're able to pack up your high line basically almost in Slovenia's final third. The way that John Stones and Mark Gahey were just sitting off. So you had Kyle Walker getting the ball a lot of touches too, and Kyle Walker just doesn't have that final action in his game. If anything, this should have been the game to play Alexander Arnold at right back. You're not worried about Kyle Walker needing to defend that transition, in behind you. That just wasn't there. So I just again it's Southgate basically. And so can this could be improved if Luke Shaw is able to play? It does change them a lot. But that's the reason why Ian Wright said what he said, and that's made Arsenal fans just completely lose their marbles. To me, it's also it's praising of Saka. It's not even to downplay. It's not to say that Saka is rubbish on the right. Maybe playing him on the left. I think basically he's like Saka's so talented. He's the only one that can maybe offer us some kind of dynamism on that left to get a little bit more out of Foden or to get a little bit more out of Harry Kane because you can't have anyone that can cross the ball in with his left foot. And I think teams recognize that. So if Shaw can go, it changes them. If Shaw can go, also I think it makes Bellingham a better player. I think we immediately see more out of Bellingham if Shaw can go. I think Bellingham would benefit a little bit more on that delivery and link up as well. I think Jude has started to really starve in that situation. So, uh, but Southgate did basically create this on his own with some of the selections that he made. Gordon being lively, you mentioned it, and Phil Foden continues to be a little bit of a conundrum. Best game so far is Bellingham's possible worst so far. So and the Gordon effect. I think Gordon plays better on the left. So can you play Foden as your 10? And if you're going to play Kobe Mano next to Declan Rice, I think it would be Adam Wharton, but well, it'll probably be Mano. Where do you play Jude Bellingham? You got to play Kane? You imagine, or do you play Bellingham almost as your 10? You almost can't play Foden and Bellingham together. Uh, because and another thing too, that the thing that Rice suggested was to play Cole Palmer on. Uh, I think if you're going to sit Saka, uh, the player to play is either Ollie Watkins or, in my opinion, Jared Bowen. Not another ball to feet kind of creative player that needs people to make runs ahead of him. You already have that issue in the boatloads. Cole Palmer doesn't really help that. Maybe, and I don't think Cole Palmer helps you to play as a 10 at this level. At this stage in his career in the knockout rounds. Now maybe you can bring him on as a kind of a if you have the game tied up, or if you have the game sorted out for Slovakia, and you can give some guys some minutes, maybe experiment a little bit. Then I don't really think Cole Palmer should factor in the way that people have been talking about. Uh, Obviously, the Conor Gallagher experiment possibly did not possibly end. So it's unfortunate too because everyone's going to look at Gallagher and think he's kind of the problem. No, Southgate's the problem. Southgate's kind of set him up a little bit the same way that he set Tripp up. So I don't really love that. Uh, and just and we haven't seen Adam Wharton, so it doesn't seem like he's going to be the one to feature. It's going to be Mano, and so I am wondering, is this potentially setting people up? Because the way that Slovenia were just setting off, it's one thing to play players that like the ball when you've got no pressure around you, and people are sitting back, but you're able to get the ball and you're able to have some fun. Basically, it's almost like a training experiment. And that's also another reason why the Gallagher thing isn't necessarily ideal because if there was ever a team for you to actually look better than you are, it probably would have been this game, and he looks lost. I am wondering if maybe Maino, if the one thing that he was doing with United was he would leave sometimes, he'd go a little forward, leave Casemiro or whoever was playing there a little isolated at times. So there were a couple of times when it was easy for teams to run past Kobe Maino. Now again, he's been asked to kind of do a little things, do too much by himself at times. Declan Rice is not Casemiro, but Declan Rice has played a lot of minutes. His legs have to be shattered. uh, I do wonder if potentially that could backfire. I don't necessarily know if it'll be Slovakia or not, but I do think that would be something I would be looking at. Just if it is Kobe Mano and Rice played together. But we'll have to see. I would personally, I would probably would do Jude Bellingham and Rice together. But again, we haven't seen that, so it just gets to the point where of just not experimenting with the pregame or with the warm ups that they had. And England get a team that has already beaten Belgium and Slovakia, and so what happens with them? Um, Again, Slovakia are very, or at least have been good in the tournament of flying to the ball and getting pressing high and getting some turnovers. They've got Martin Skriniar, I think a center back for Inter Milan. They have David Hackno that has had a pretty good club season. In their back line, they've got Labaka that I mentioned that can do some things. So I don't necessarily know if they have enough offensively, but at least as far as a team that can maybe hold their own in midfield, or at least with the ball at their feet with their center backs, Slovakia have the ability to do that. So this could be a fun game as far as which team will have control, and maybe this will be a game where if England do win, it'll be because of their bench depth, and maybe Southgate plays Jared Bowen or brings on Ollie Watkins, or even another player. The one player that we didn't see that he make any minutes in the tournament so far is even Ivan Toney of Brentford, and it has been kind of interesting about that. So do we finally see him get some minutes? Maybe he's kind of a hero a little bit in the knockout rounds. We'll have to see. And so that is England, Slovakia, and Romania played to a 1-1 game with Duda. I mentioned of Slovakia with Duda and then Marin, and the 1-1's able to get both in, so they both kind of celebrated because of what happened in the other game with Belgium and Ukraine. So uh, Romania with 9 shots, but only with 5 on target, and Slovakia with 13 and 4. Slovakia with majority possession, probably what you would imagine. But man of the match was also Dubravka, so that kind of says a little bit as well with the way that Ukrainian were able to only 9 shots, but they were able to force Dubravka into a number of saves. Dubravka had a pretty good season also for Newcastle with the new cap. I can't forget the Newcastle's keeper getting hurt. Nick Pope. So Newcastle have helped maybe Slovakia a little bit, and it may have been one of the more fun sides as well. So and then with mentioned how Belgium and Ukraine also played to a 0-0. Lukaku had a number of chances that De Bruyne set him up. Uh, Trossard played on the right, didn't really work out. Doku on the left was able to create, but it didn't offer any kind of goal threat a couple of times there. Carrasco came on the left towards the end. He had a couple of chances, kind of whiffed on them as well. Ukraine started the game with a back five. It was interesting to see Zinchenko actually sat, and then he came on a little bit towards the end. Uh, no Mudryk. Mudryk apparently was hurt. Ukraine deserved to, I think, at least get something more than I guess I should say win. At least get a goal. But Belgium started off on fire, and then towards second half they seemed kind of comfortable, to be honest, to kind of set it out after their Tedesco made some of his changes. But it wasn't necessarily a pretty game. There was a lot of kind of last ditch defending a little bit, but I thought more or less Ukraine was getting into good spots and then just kind of making really poor decisions in the final third. A couple of times when a couple guys had moments to go for goal and basically were trying to almost be too clever with either a cutback that was blocked or even some kind of a late cross or late cross into the box. If nothing else, at least Ralph Faes actually had a pretty good job on Ukraine's leading striker in Dubravik. So that's at least a positive because Ralph Faes has been a little bit of a wild card, you can say as well. And then with Czechia and Turkey, the two teams that decided to change their names in English, this one finished 2-1, but the two yellows basically leading to an early red just kind of killed the game a little bit. Chalanaga was able to get one in the 51st minute, Suchek, and then Tosin in the 94th minute. Then there was a bunch of fighting afterwards. Czechia just, I think if anything, have just been one of the more kind of better performing sides that just got a little unlucky. I thought they weren't able to see the game out. Was Portugal? Portugal able to score too quick, two goals late to kind of steal that one, and then the game was Georgia. They had something like 25 shots to Georgia's like 5, and they end that game just one as well. And then this one, you get the red card, just kind of sends you out of it. So just really unfortunate there. And it's like them and Ukraine, really the two most unfortunate sides because Ukraine's out after netting more points than a couple of these teams like Slovenia. Uh, and with Turkey, Turkey was at least able to play Arda Güler, so that can be a positive. But they and them drawing to them drawing Austria is they can probably look at that and say maybe if nothing else it's a coin flip. We'll have to see how that works out or not. The Turkey were not good versus Portugal. So that's the only kind of thing. But I don't know. We'll see how that works. I think one thing you can say about a couple of these sides is it's been really fun how Turkey or Turkey, Romania, and Georgia another one have just kind of come into this and have not just kind of bunkered down. Now Georgia have been a little more defensive minded, playing a back five, but when they get the ball, they're not afraid to attack. They're not trying to just eat out the game and just sit in a deep block all game. They're playing a back five, but they're playing higher up, and they commit numbers into the box when they attack. And a lot of these nations have actually done that, and it's been a really enjoyable Euros because of that. We haven't seen teams other than Slovenia. We haven't seen teams just kind of bunker in and just play anti-football. In my opinion. Now that said, the group stage is one thing. I think we will see this in the knockout rounds, but we'll see. We'll see how that works. The ball is flying in, it seems, from distance, and so teams that are bunkering in are probably getting punished. And so the last game to talk about is Portugal and Georgia. Kind of mentioned it already. Georgia do go on to win 2-0 with Kvaratskhelia. It's just a lot of rotation that Roberto Martinez did, which played a role into this. So Anthony Silva, a talented young center back that on Benfica, been linked to a bunch of clubs, probably wants this back. It feels like he's got his head down, and in the corner of his eye he sees Yao Polina, in a space, and his head is down. He tries to do another move to see if maybe there's a pass going forwards. And then he turns around and just plays a pass back blindly. And by that time, Yao Polina is actually left to go a little more forward ahead. And basically, he passes it right to Midazake, who intercepts it. And then he has Kvara streaking alongside him. He plays him in to Daniel Pereira, another guy that's been rotated in. So no Pepe, no Ruben Diaz. And Pereira is able to recover, and Kvara is able to find the corner. So the rotated back line worked there, showed here the lack of communication between Silva, Paulinho, even Yao Neves. Yao Neves and Paulinho kind of basically run into each other, which doesn't really help. And then Miyazaki is able to get the PK. And it is a soft pin, but also Georgia, I think, deserved to be up at this point. And then Neves is caught high on the ball. And Georgia forced the turnover, get a touch in the penalty area, and draw the foul. It's probably a little cheap, but it did. There is contact, and I guess the VAR didn't have enough to overturn it. But the game was loads of fun. Portugal went down 2 goals, and instead of just kind of closing up shop, being like, okay, that you guys can have the game, Portugal went for it. And so interesting kind of tactic. We haven't seen other teams kind of do that. We've seen a lot of teams try to kill out the final stage of the game, and it seemed Roberto Martinez really wanted to end on a high. And it was really entertaining for the neutral. If not for Georgia's keeper, who's probably keeper of the tournament right now in Madashvili, the keeper of Valencia. Maybe they do finish this, tied. A couple of changes came in, really did insert a lot of energy. Jota came on, which helped them. I thought Pedro Neto was doing well to create some chances. Ronaldo, was played and unfortunately just kind of backfired. The idea was to try to get him a goal, and instead you picked up a dumb yellow card. That was kind of a talking point coming into this. For leading story, would Ronaldo start? And he did. And would he? How many minutes would he play? Would he play the full 90? He is up there up there in age, closer to 40. Wouldn't it be better to rest his legs? And they instead tried the idea of trying to get him a goal, but it didn't really work. And then with Georgia, the Midiaki guy now leads the Golden Boot with that third goal. With the I think two have been PKs, but I really have enjoyed the partnership between him and Varavskaya. The connection that they both seem to have together. Both are really good with the ball at their feet. Both are not afraid of taking someone on. It's been really fun to watch. Sometimes they have to do it all by themselves too. They don't have a lot of help. At least in the beginning, when they do kind of get all the way up in the final third, then they usually have trailing help coming up. But usually when they get the ball, they're just kind of alone as the duo, and they're good. They're good at getting forward and creating that danger. So Georgia have been again. I mentioned how a number of teams have been a pleasant surprise. Georgia up there as well, especially this game. Uh, you know, uh, Portugal with 25 shots, 5 on target. Georgia only 7 shots, but also 5 on target. Mavashvili had to make 5 saves. Georgia with 3 big chances. Portugal with 4 big chances. So lots of fun. Not a lot of passes, though. 206 for Georgia, and then probably what you would expect, 642 for Portugal. Portugal going into this, playing basically at back three every single game, has been a bit of a surprise to me. I wasn't expecting that. Even the first game when he played Nuno Mendes, which is he's been kind of a wing back or attack minded fullback for PSG. Yeah, they played him as a back three in their first game. So bit of a interesting kind of tactic by Martinez. We didn't see that in warmups. Didn't really work here though. But it was also a rotated squad. So a couple ways to look at that. 11 touches versus 30 in the penalty area as well. I mean, Portugal was still good regardless of losing the 2 goals. And then with the Georgia, already mentioned the dynamic frontman. Uh, Another word with like Valdescalia. There's been a lot of talk online that football's dead. No one takes chances anymore. No one runs the ball. He does. He had a number of fun dribbles for the aesthetic, pleasers out there. I think there's been a clip that went viral. But he was a lot of fun, a lot of chance creation as well, and had some end product. And he hasn't had the best tournament. Now he had a very good game in his first one, but he was a little quiet in that game versus Czech Republic or Czechia. Uh, the duo together have been a lot of fun. And then with Portugal, uh, you don't really know what to necessarily think. One thing you can say is Yao Felix has gotten a couple looks here, and I think started the game versus the Czech Republic. Uh, he he's getting close. He's getting close to having a number of like really nice, clever touches like in the final third, but he's not really going to be someone that kind of threatens a little bit. And I just think you need someone that's a little more. Uh, that seems to be maybe the idea is for him to try to create a little bit for Ronaldo. I don't really know, but he hasn't really kind of clicked to me. Uh, Another thing too is with the rotation. So no Leal, no Vitinha. Vitinha actually to me is maybe one of their more important players. To be honest, not Ruben Neves. Ruben Neves is also a player that came in that we hadn't seen. Uh, but Yao Neves was played next to Paulinho. Yao Neves was one of the players that I mentioned how someone I really wanted to watch, coming into this because he's been linked to everyone. And I thought he was bullied a little bit. And Vitinha to me has been just been one of the more clever players I think in the entire tournament as far as chance creation, as far as getting the ball in the turn and being able to keep it under pressure, but also find players further forward. I just think they kind of missed a little what he can offer to kind of unlock things. We'll probably see him for the next game. No Pepe and Diaz, so the back line wasn't preferred. We saw Pereira, Inacio, and Silva again played instead. So I don't really expect to see that again. Neto uses wing back. Neto's probably better as either a sub or a little further forward. as well. And no Cancelo and Mendez, probably the two you expect to start, if not for Dallo. So there are reasons to think this could possibly be just kind of a one-off, but what we'll have to see. That's kind of the issue a little bit for Roberto Martinez. This team is as talented as any of them. It's just you have to find. But there's also a very easy way for a lot of this to clash. You have to find the right way to play them. Another thing too that's unfortunate is mention how Ronaldo didn't score. Gonzalo Ramos has not looked good in any of the minutes that he's played, and he made that move to from Benfica to PSG, and he didn't have the best season for PSG either. Maybe he's kind of just lacking for confidence. So it was about this time 2 years ago that he introduced himself to the world by scoring a hat trick versus in the first knockout game for us. I think it was Switzerland. So maybe he can find some inspiration there. I don't really know. We're probably not going to see him start. We're not going to see him start over Ronaldo like we saw versus I think it was Morocco after that Switzerland game. But Ramos has been one of the more kind of disappointing players I think in the entire tournament, unfortunately. And Yal Neves I think was a little bit bullied a little bit here too. So can Roberto Martinez get the balance right? If he can, this is as dangerous a team as any of them. But I think it's possible that the gauntlet that they have to play through is not really fun either. Uh, with the first game, and if they beat the first game, I think it's France waiting for them, which is and then if they beat France, then it's Germany or possibly Spain. If as far as if you don't have upsets, maybe you'll have some upsets here and there. But well, it's Belgium for the first. No, no, that's not it. It's Slovenia. So the Slovenia, they get maybe a break there. I think Slovenia is one of the more weaker sides to advance. And then yeah, I think it's France or Belgium winner. So yikes. But we'll see how it all pans out, and I'll be here to talk about it, and probably talk a little bit more about what happens with the U.S. and Uruguay. And until then, you stay squatting and stop recording.